Names of several Sri Lankans with offshore accounts revealed in the Panama Papers.
වරදක් සිදු කළ බවට අපිට ඔප්පු කරගත හැකි වන්නේ ඒ පිළිබඳව විශේෂ පරීක්ෂණයක් පැවැත්වීමෙන් පසුවයි.
President initiates program to provide funds instead of the fertilizer subsidy.
දියක්ද විල්යාය කිපනැල්ල මට හොඳට උරුත්. ගොවි ජනතාවගේ හෘද සාක්ෂිය මම හොඳට දන්නවා.
Yoshita Rajapaksa summoned to the FCID and Namal Rajapaksa summoned to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry.
JVP to take to the streets against the government's new tax policy.
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Sharon Silva.
And I'm Nicola De Souza. We now move on to the news in detail. On our top story tonight, President Maithripala Sirisena presided over the event to grant cash for the fertilizer subsidy for farmers.
The national event took place at the Regional Agricultural Research and Development Centre in Markandura. Farmers were briefed on the use of organic fertilizer and a special centre for organic farming was also established. Farmers hailing from all the districts were present for the occasion, where they were presented with cash for fertilizer.
It was raised in the media that the President and the Minister of Agriculture, who are both well aware of farming, are not looking after the farmers. No. We started this program because we know the plight of the farmers. When I was a student, I used to go to the paddy field and help after school. The paddy field is a familiar place to me. I realize the needs of the farming people and I know how the farming community operates. That is why this national movement was initiated. This was initiated with a clean vision. Therefore, no matter what hurdles are ahead and what challenges are afoot, this national movement will emerge victorious with the assistance of the farming community. A sum of 614 million rupees has been allocated for the 712,316 farmers. When the farmers are given the funds here, by tomorrow morning, 549,846 farmers will have the funds in their respective bank accounts. You can use the funds to purchase the required amount of fertilizer.
The Panama Papers database went live and searchable last night, stripping the veil of secrecy from thousands of offshore shell companies and the people who have used them.
A list of Sri Lankans also involved in the controversial company at the center of the Panama Papers expose was released yesterday.
The details of the Panama Papers, which sparked global outrage when first leaked, were released on its website at 11 p.m. Sri Lankan time last night.
The files leaked from a Panamanian law firm called Mossack Fonseca reveals how the rich and powerful, which include world leaders, current and former, as well as prominent celebrities, use tax havens to hide their wealth. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, or ICIJ, which exposed the documents, say there is a cache of 11.5 million records. Last night, ICIJ published online a searchable database that stripped away the secrecy. According to this expose, 1,046 Indians, 7,325 Americans, 33,290 Chinese, 5,676 British nationals and 6,285 Russians are involved in this network. The list of offshore links released in the document last night also involves 22 accounts belonging to Sri Lankans, 19 officers and many addresses in Sri Lanka. Among the Sri Lankan names disclosed in the documents is Nishankayapa Senadipati, who is the chairman of Avantgarde Private Limited, which came under the spotlight of controversy in the recent past, as well as YHP Kitsuri Manjula Kumarayapa, Senarath Bandara Disanayaka and Prasanna Sirimevan Rajaratna, who are directors of the company. The ICIJ document also mentions Sri Lankans involved in the jewellery and telephone trade. On its website, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists has published a disclaimer. It reads that there are legitimate users for offshore companies and trusts. ICIJ adds that it does not intend to suggest or imply that any persons, companies or other entities included in the ICIJ offshore leaks database have broken the law or otherwise acted improperly. While many people and entities have the same or similar names, ICIJ suggests that the identities of any individuals or entities located in the database based on the addresses or any other identifiable information be confirmed. ICIJ requests that they be informed if any error in the database is found.
Simply because their names are there in the Panama Papers, no one can say that they have done anything wrong or anything irregular. That has to be established only after proper inquiry. There are several institutions in Sri Lanka which are authorized to conduct such inquiries. One is the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank, which can find out whether there has been any money laundering activity behind this. Then the Control of Exchange of the Central Bank can also conduct an inquiry to find out whether there have been violations of the Exchange Control Act. Then the Inland Revenue Department can also conduct an inquiry to find out whether there have been evasion of income taxes.
There is a task before the Inland Revenue Department and the Central Bank. They can no longer twiddle their thumbs. Time they check the connections of those whose names have revealed whether they are really tax evaders or tax avoiders. Now, it's up to them to decide after investigation into which category these people belong to, because you cannot allow persons who have in any way extracted money without paying necessary revenues to get off scotch-free.
You have avoided income tax on both transactions. You may have avoided customs duty. You may have avoided excise duty. You may have even collected these monies through money laundering or by means of collecting bribes, commissions on projects and other transactions and holding them outside. If they cannot prove the legitimacy of these transactions and why they have not declared properly, subject to investigation, those monies can be taxed if they have not been properly taxed, and if they are illegal transactions, they can be confiscated.
It isn't just Panama, but public wealth has also been stashed in Dubai and Singapore. We have now received word that money has also been stashed in Ukraine. We do not know how this government will take a decision on this. But as the people of this country, we urge this government to look into how wealth of the public was collected as black money and taken out of the country through illegal outflows and stashed away. I believe that the government must take every measure possible on this list of names. As the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, we must fight and throw a huge amount of weight on this matter. I am saying this because in other parts of the world, if anyone is involved in such a scandal, they voluntarily resign from their posts before the party takes any action. So I believe that it is essential that we as a government and party take the necessary measures in this regard. As a government, there can be no expectation for any safety to be provided. Because if foreign exchange is a fraud, it does not matter who or what the position is, they must be punished for this offence. The money from this country cannot be deposited in any other country or company without the knowledge of this country. There can be no such dealings either. That is the law of the country. I am 100% sure that the President will enforce that law on whoever it may be, regardless of positions. The Criminal Investigations Department, or the CID, inspected the office of Sajinwas Gunawardena in Boralla.
The CID notes that its officers seized several computers and documents from the office. CID adds the search was carried out over the investigations taking place under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. A search was issued by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court.
MP Nama Rajapaksa was summoned to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into large-scale fraud and corruption.
Our correspondent reported that MP Namal Rajapaksa appeared at the commission at around 10 this morning. MP Namal Rajapaksa was summoned to the commission to provide a statement pertaining to the investigations against former Minister Basil Rajapaksa for using over 150 million rupees for domestic flights.
I was summoned over an anonymous complaint that was made over domestic flights. Now the question is not where the flights were to, but how were the invoices paid for. It appears now that you fall into trouble with the government of good governance, even if you pay for the invoice or even if you don't. Yes, we are close associates. Let us see what accusations he will level at us. We don't have to talk about it. He said that he will tell it, didn't he? No. If he says something of that sort, that is not right. His conscience knows the reason why he did not get nominated. I was the one who went to drop him at the prison. No, the answer I will have to give you is the exact thing Gotabaya Rajapaksa said yesterday. So I will not talk about it.
Meanwhile, Yoshitha Rajapaksa was summoned before the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division today.
Yoshitha Rajapaksa arrived at the FCID at around 9:30 this morning to provide a statement pertaining to the investigations taking place over the CSN channel. The FCID recorded a statement from him for around 5 hours.
Today I was summoned over CSN. They informed me to come tomorrow as well.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa attended an event this morning.
The event was held at the Bandaranayake Memorial International Conference Hall to celebrate the International Nurses' Day. The Public Service United Nurses Union, chaired by Venerable Muruthettuwe Ananda Thera, organised the event. Following the event, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa expressed these views to the media.
I was invited by the President. I was invited to attend his swearing-in ceremony. I'm going for that. None of the Rajapaksas are in it. I have no plan of going to Uganda because Mahinda Rajapaksa is going. I have other things to attend to as well. I work in my village and I also have some work here. If I do tell my father, he might take me with him.
Politicians today commented on former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's visit to Uganda.
He has been extended an invitation to attend the swearing-in ceremony of the President-elect of Uganda. We believe that he will be invited for the swearing-in of the President of Swaziland as well. Therefore, we can now understand the friends he has across the world. Uganda is a corrupted country. He had many relationships with countries of that sort during the recent past. Therefore, it is not a new thing to us. It looks like he is still associating with leaders as such even after his defeat.
The JVP is gearing up to launch island-wide protests against the government's new tax policy. The government's tax policy came under fire at the JVP media briefing in Colombo today, which was presided over by its leader, Anurukumara Disanayaka.
At the time when the people of the country are burdened by taxes, the Prime Minister presents a supplementary estimate to allocate 594.3 million rupees for VIP security vehicles. This monetary request was directed to the Treasury to obtain 2 vehicles. The sum is almost 600 million rupees. So they want to spend 300 million rupees per vehicle. 4.26 million was allocated from the supplementary estimate for the renovation of the official residences. It does not stop from there. Allocations for the official residence of the Minister of Postal Service and Muslim Affairs is 8.85 million rupees. 60 million rupees is allocated for the office premises of Kabir Hashim, the Minister of Public Enterprise Development. Thereby, via the supplementary estimate, they have obtained almost 700 million rupees to upgrade the ministries and official residences as well as to obtain VIP cars. A government is not elected to exert undue pressure on the people and drain the life out of the people and nourish themselves. This tax policy has been introduced to nourish the Prime Minister and the ministers by draining the life out of the people.
Chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprises, Sunil Handunethi, had this to say on COPE operations.
As COPE, we make recommendations but to no avail. The recommendations are being suspended by the subject minister. For example, take the grant program by the Senior Citizen Secretariat. 100 rupees from the grant of 2000 rupees is slashed. That institution does not have any right to take it away. This has not stopped. We have informed them to return the 100 rupees. Minister SP Disanayaka had sent a letter to all 225 members in Parliament to suspend the slashing of the grant.
The MP also commented on the move to introduce the National Audit Act to Parliament.
Cabinet Mandale විසින් නැවත ඇමතිවරු 4 දෙනෙක්ගෙන් සරත් තමුණුගම ඇමතුමාගේ සභාපතිත්වයෙන් අනුගමිකවක් පත්වලා තියෙනවා.
The cabinet has once again appointed a subcommittee chaired by Minister Sarath Amanugama. Why is a subcommittee being appointed? It is done in order to remove certain clauses. What would be the final result? We will pass the National Audit Act and the Right to Information Act. The commissions will be established. However, when they are in operation, the institutions will have no power. If the National Audit Act is presented in a manner where those who commit wrong are protected, there is no point in passing it in Parliament.
A media briefing was held at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters today.
We can now expect 1.5 billion US dollars from the IMF. This is not the very first time we have received an amount like this. In 2009, we received 2.5 billion US dollars from the IMF. By now, we have paid back most of the amount. There is only another 40% to be paid. Aside from the 1.5 billion US dollars, we have received a loan of 300 million from the World Bank, and another provision of 300 million was also received a few days ago after the end of the Asian Development Bank meeting. If you look at it roughly, we can say that we have a safety of 2 billion US dollars. That is given in correlation to the budget and given as financial aid to the budget.
In other local news, a special police program is underway to crack down on crime in the Jaffna Peninsula. The operation led to the arrest of 5 members from an organized crime gang known as Rock Team.
The suspects arrested were between the ages of 18 and 23 and are connected to crimes that took place in Jaffna recently. Police also recovered 2 hand grenades, 3 swords, an axe and several other weapons from the possession of the suspects. Among the suspects were 2 school students. Interrogations have revealed details of 4 other suspects, and senior officer in charge of the area said that a police operation is underway to apprehend them. The suspects are under remand custody. Jaffna High Court Judge M. Milanchelian ordered the police to seek the assistance of the Police Special Task Force in order to crack down on organized crimes in the Jaffna Peninsula. The magistrate also ordered to seize manufacturing of swords and machetes at blacksmiths in Jaffna.
Heavy rains experienced in a number of areas have disrupted normal life. Landslide warnings were issued to the Balangoda and Imbulpe divisional secretariats in the Ratnapura district. Meanwhile, 25 families living in the Pettigala estate in Balangoda were evacuated due to a landslide threat.
A landslide warning was issued starting at 5:30 p.m. today for a period of 24 hours to Balangoda and Imbulpe divisional secretariats in the Ratnapura district owing to the incessant rains. We request that the general public adhere to the warnings we have issued.
Divisional Secretary of the Balangoda Pradesh Sabha noted that steps were taken this afternoon to relocate 25 families to safer grounds owing to the risk of landslides. One person died after being struck by lightning along the incessant rains experienced in the Miyathakulanne area in Ahaliagoda. According to the police, he was struck by lightning while at his residence. The deceased, aged 26, has been identified as S.G. Swarnapala and he succumbed to his injuries following admission to the Ahaliagoda Divisional Hospital. 30 houses were damaged owing to strong winds which were flown through the Panduvasnuara East, Kuliapitiya East and Bambunakotua areas. Area residents point out that several roads were inundated owing to incessant rains and trees uprooted in the Katupota, Udugampola and Murahena areas. 4 houses were damaged in the Baddegama, Angalia and Akuratia areas owing to strong winds. Area residents say that banana, tea and rubber crops were damaged owing to incessant rains.
විනාඩි 5ක් විතර එක දිගට මේ හුළඟ තිබුණා. ලොකු බයකුත් දැනුණා මේ ඇත්තටම පොඩි ගේකේ.
Several houses in the Ambilipiti area were also damaged owing to strong winds, which also resulted in electricity and phone lines being damaged. 2 buildings in the Ambilipiti Ayurveda hospital were damaged owing to uprooted trees. Fifteen houses were damaged owing to strong winds that swept through the Hingurakoda Pansalkodal area in Ratnapura. The supply of electricity to the area too was disrupted owing to strong winds experienced in the area.
The former chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Chandra Jayaratne, emphasizes that the officials at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka cannot violate the rights of the people by shielding themselves with the Monetary Law Act.
In a letter to the Secretary of the Monetary Board of Sri Lanka, he notes that fraud and corruption must be exposed.
Several factions cast their doubts over the Treasury bond issue in February and March this year. In a letter to the Secretary of the Monetary Board, dated the 19th of April, the former chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce requests that details of all bond issues with long-term maturity be made public. However, in response, the Secretary of the Monetary Board informed Chandra Jayaratne that such information cannot be disclosed. Resending a letter to the Secretary of the Monetary Board, Chandra Jayaratne notes that the response position is inconsistent with the commitments towards assuring transparent good governance. He points out that it is further untenable, unjust and narrow in its interpretation of the Constitution and the commitments of the government as embedded in the pending Right to Information Bill. He adds that the Monetary Board and the Secretary of the Monetary Board have failed to take cognizance of the matter in denying the legitimate request for information. Chandra Jayaratne goes on to say that not disclosing information means that the people's right to information has not been accepted. He requests the Monetary Board and the Secretary to the Monetary Board to release the information on the March bond issue. A weekend newspaper also reported on this matter. 1 billion rupees was expected from the Treasury bond issue that took place on the 27th of February 2015, maturing in 30 years. However, at the auction, bid amounting 10.05 billion rupees were accepted, and it was noted that it was 10 times more than the issue rate. It was also noted that the Superintendent of Public Debt had placed a note that bid to 10 billion rupees were accepted as per the instructions of the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. The newspaper also reveals that details pertaining to the bond issue on the 29th of March, including the interest rate and bid, have not been made public. The newspaper also notes that at a time where there is an opportunity to accept bids so that the interest rates do not rise, not following the proper procedure had led to an issue. By engaging in such malpractices, the broker acting as a third party acquires a large amount of money. It needs to be noted that professionals with the proper skills need to take this over to their hands in order to maintain transparency in the process undertaken and ensure that the invested money of the public is secured. There has been no action taken until today against this. However, those who earn profits out of these transactions did benefit. The innocent people of this country who invested suffered a grave loss. The 10 billion bond scam has now reached a loss amounting to around 4,000 to 5,000 billion. Not only the central banks lagging behind to answer the questions posed on them over the bond scam, neither have they launched an investigation to look into the fraud which has been committed.
10 ex-LTTE members who were rehabilitated at the Puntottam camp in Vaunia were reintegrated into society today.
These persons were arrested over their connection with the LTTE, and among them were 4 Gramanildari officers. 6 of the suspects were in rehabilitation for a period of 1 year, while the other 4 were in rehabilitation for a period of 3 months. They were handed over to their relatives by the officers from the Puntottam camp.
1,670 feet below ground, miners from the Bogala mine are engaging in a satyagraha campaign, citing several demands.
Operations at this mine have come to a standstill as over 50 miners are engaged in this satyagraha campaign. They have resorted to this measure over their wages not being increased and their rights being denied.
අපේ තියෙනවා මේ පරිපාලක සභාව. ඒව ඇත්තටම
We have an administrative board. They talk about the salary in this. They don't let our employees get involved with it, nor they let me go for it, saying my name is not in that list. So people who have no connection to this made decisions. Then I suggested there are more mines and not only ours, and to sit and discuss together with what sort of rules that we have to come up with. The graphite mine in Bogala, located in Kegol, is considered as one of Sri Lanka's oldest graphite mine. The Bogala mine commenced operations back in the year 1847. The Bogala mine is located 275 meters below the ground level, which is also deeper beyond the sea level. The managerial activities of the Bogala mine were carried out by the private sector since 2002.
360 members of his family was appointed to run the country. What they did, they ruined this country.
Now you can't be singing the same song now, can you?
If MR's regime was there, they would have taken more loans and people wouldn't have realized 20 years down the line, the country will be owned by another country and the flag will be changed.
Are politicians in Sri Lanka representing the people? Are they representing the workforce? Or are they representing themselves?
Although more than 10 months have passed since the establishment of the National Medicine Regulatory Authority Control Board, the advisory committee to be established under the relevant act was formed today. That means the authority had functioned for more than 10 months without the services of an advisory committee. Another important aspect under the act is yet to be established. That is none other than the appeals board, which would hear any complaints that are made with regard to the decisions taken by the authority. Through this, it can be inferred that the authority has been acting in an arbitrary manner with regard to the regulation of medicines in the country for close to 10 months. Member of the board of directors of the authority, Specialist Dr. Ananda Vijayavikrama, accepts that there have been certain delays in the establishing of certain aspects under the act which created the authority. According to Dr. Vijayavikrama, the authority should be commended for functioning despite these shortcomings.
It was there. There was a surprising state of confusion there. Not as yet. We have still not been able to fulfill our responsibilities. For example, we have still not received approval for the required number of staff members. As a result, we have a difficulty in establishing the core functions of the authority.
Dr. Vijayavikrama does not accept the fact that there is a medicine shortage in the country. This was done so even after refuting the letter that Action TV highlighted on the 5th of April. This letter that was highlighted by Action TV is issued by the Director General of Medical Health Services to the Chairman of the authority. In this letter, the Director General points out that there is a shortage of 8 types of medicines in the country, as the authority had not issued the letter of no objection required for the suppliers of these medicines to import and clear the said medicines.
This is a letter that has been drafted with the intention of misleading the Health Minister, the public and Director General of the Ministry of Health. It is all lies. It is misleading, especially when it is highlighted in the nighttime news.
විශේෂයෙන් රාත්‍රී ප්‍රවෘත්ති ප්‍රකාශයක පෙන්වනකොට ජනතාව නම කියනෝනේ. ඉතින් නමුත් මේකේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ වෛද්‍යතුමනි මේ සෞඛ්‍ය අධ්‍යක්ෂක ජනරාල් දැන් ඒක තමයි මම කිව්වේ ඒ එතුමා වගේ කියලා එතුමාට ගන්න ඕනේ බොරු ලියුම ලියුවා.
That I do not know. We need to clarify this with him.
එතුමාගෙන් අහන්න ඕන.
Does it mean then that this letter that has been issued by the Director General of Health Services addressed to the Chairman of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority has been drafted with the intention of misleading the public? If this is the case, then an inquiry should be conducted to ascertain why there are such intentions. Secretary to the Ministry of Health, this is over to you.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the News First team, I'm Nicola D'Zoiza.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and good night.